Welcome to our TED event in ALMONDALE Lomas, Concepcion, Chile. 4 students will share their passions today. Let's get the ball rolling. Our school principal will open session with some words. Please pay attention.
Hello, I'm very excited to be giving the welcome to our now annual traditional TED Ed event, this year about global citizenship. And I really like this methodology because it's pretty motivating for students to have the opportunity to use their creativity and their knowledge to come up with novel ideas. And that's exactly what TED Ed is. It's a way to spread ideas that are worth spreading. And so for me, it's wonderful that the third year high school students have been working very hard on coming up with their original ideas and the way to share that with the rest of the community. And so what we're going to see today is a selection of this work from 4 esteemed speakers from third year high school. So my congratulations to Javiera, Luciano, Catalina, Martin, and also to Cristobal, who's helping to MC this event. I'm very excited to hear what you have to say, what sorts of ideas that you have. I know that some go from ideas about the pandemic, others to mathematics, and so there's just a huge diversity of creativity and of research that has gone into these talks. My congratulations to the entire team that has worked to put these together, Mr. Alejandro, who has been guiding you in this process, and all of the people who made the effort to make this an online event that would be available for the rest of the community. So I can't wait to hear what you have to tell us, and I am sure that your ideas are going to spread to all corners of the world. So thank you very much for joining us, and enjoy.
Our first speaker is Javiera Videla. Here the idea worth spreading is the importance of doing different things as global citizens.
Have you ever felt lost? A few days ago, this happened to me and made me reflect about life. I realized that when we are not thinking clearly, we search for memories, sometimes good or bad ones. The thing is that some of them just appear in our mind. I remembered that when I was like 4 years old, I was taking a walk with my father. We saw a poor family in the street, living in old blankets. In just a few seconds, we were in the supermarket buying things. I don't remember clearly what food we were carrying. I just remember that we had a chocolate milk. It was my favorite. The faces of the family are not clear in my head either, but I remember the big smiles and happy eyes because we were helping them. In part, it was because my family taught me that solidarity was good, so I was happy. But I was like 4 years old, so I didn't know all the things of life. Why I'm telling you this story is not because I want to say you that help is good. It's because in life, sometimes we do things that doesn't make sense, but then I promise it will. I want to show you a quote about Pablo Picasso, and it says, "The world today doesn't make sense, so why should I paint pictures that do?" So life is uncertainty, and also doesn't make sense. So it's also like a book. Because when we're kids, the journey began. So we start writing our story in a notebook. But then it becomes a book. We keep going with failures and mistakes. But one day comes the moment to stop and think about what we are doing as a global citizens. Answering the following questions. Who is around me? What I'm trying to do? And finally, what I want to do for the rest of my life. When we keep going, we understand that in life we are going through a lot of experiences, so we can reread our book, going back, and understanding what are we doing. We get it better because we are simply not the same person as we were before. We know other stories and we have more life experiences. So in summary, we have good and bad emotions because we are not happy all the time. The thing is not getting stuck in the past because we can't fix that. Instead, think about how strong you are and how you overcome difficult times. Always remember that you are able to change your story, to redefine your objectives and what you want. Because you're the protagonist of this story and you're capable to change the world. Believe in you. Thank you.
Our second speaker is Luciano Benevente. He will share his passion about of math as global citizens today.
Well, all of you know that math is one of the most important subjects in science. It is crucial in school to learn the basic algebra, arithmetic, geometry. In university to learn calculus, study engineering and others, and basically in many other things in real life. Math is a global language, and it is crucial to connect our language, knowledge, and form integral people. But how crucial? It is really important that students, as global citizens today, have to learn about theorems and exercises that they will not use. You see, today many students fail in math because they don't know how to study or learn all the topics, from the boredom to the incapacity of their memories. These are students like you, students like me, or like anybody else. When I was younger, like 7 years old, I had already discovered the numbers, but I didn't care too much about them. Instead of that, I watched a lot of YouTube videos. That was until one day I reached a new topic that was unseen for me before. It was none or less than the Teleton computations shown year by year in my country. From the beginning, it sounds really weird, but seeing numbers so large and increasing up every time was something that blew up my mind. From that moment, numbers came up as part of my life. I took a lot of interest in math classes, and I felt like I was friend of them. However, after that, the math Olympiads appeared for me, and at the first time, I was confident with myself. I knew that it was only a school Olympiad, but I studied and I studied again and again and again until eventually all my progress was in vain because I lost. So after that, I needed to come up with a new trick to surpass myself up in math. And I remembered when I started at first. It wasn't the curiosity of discovering something new that brought math to my life. Not at all. But instead, the way I tried to challenge myself, trying to create bigger numbers than the ones that I saw in the videos of my childhood. So, what can I do now? Creating more difficult problems of the same topic leads to an even better understanding of solving many easy problems of many topics. This leads to a better memory retention and trains your brain to make more creative solutions. After all of that, I applied these new techniques to my studies, and I learned about 3 years of math in only 6 months. And finally, I won my first regional competition. But also, math is not only personal overcoming, it is also friends, solidarity, and, well, the knowledge that someone acquires must be shared in this global context. It is important to ideas and solve daily and global problems. In summary, all the people can use these techniques to learn not only math, but every scientific subject or even in many studies that are required in a educational, formal context or in real life, and as a fundamental part of being a global citizen. And finally, don't you think ever that something that one person can do could be impossible for you? The lack of motivation and the impotence are clear arguments for someone that gives up after not being able to solve these kind of problems. But think about it. Only you can decide if you will surpass the obstacles of your life, and only you can decide if surrender or not. Thank you.
Catalina Arteaga is our next speaker. She will present her idea on having a good mental health and physical activity in a pandemic.
Hello everybody, I'm Catalina Arteaga and today I'm talk about how can physical activity help our mental health in pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has a huge effect on our lives and public health measures, such as social distancing. The quarantines are necessary to reduce the spread of the virus. But this situation can provoke a strong emotion in us. Probably many of you have heard that it's important to incorporate sport or physical activity, whatever it is, minimum 1 hour in our day. Probably many of you have heard that it's important to incorporate sport or physical activity minimum 1 hour in our day to generate many benefits, from keeps our cardiovascular system healthy, to strengthen our immune system by improving oxygenation capacity. And this point is extremely important because it is proven that it can reduce the severity of COVID infections. But first, remember that any physical activity, whether it is aerobic and anaerobic, it is totally effective for develop of these benefits. Okay, but now, what is the relationship between exercise and mental health? 1. Our moods improves. Michel Otto, a psychology professor and researcher at the Boston University, states that usually after 5 minutes of following a moderate exercise session, our mood improves. Our positive thoughts increase, and we feel happier and increasing our self-love. Exercise stimulates the release of the endorphins in our brain and consequently can help alleviate long-term depressive disorders. 2. Regulates sleep cycles. One of the difficulties of being in quarantine is to be at home all day. It is very easy to fall into distractions such as television or the cell phone. This can lead us to alter our sleep cycle. Exercise can help us to regulate our sleep timetable, since by using energy that we use for doing activity, our body will ask for a rest in order to recover, which facilitates both the regulation of sleep schedules as well as the ability to fall asleep. Research shows that having a regulated sleep cycle has protective effect on our brain and on the possibility of developing mental health disorders. 3. Reduce anxiety levels. Being in a situation of great uncertainty, we may feel stressed or anxious. Staying active also helps us to deal with this stress or anxious. Staying active also helps us to deal with this stress or anxiety. It is because when we feel frightened or threatened, we nervous system go into a state of flight, in which our heart rate, sweating, and breathing increase. These symptoms are the same that people experience when they exercise, but in this case, the response is as something normal. Then, at the moment of living situation that generate stress, it will have a milder effect and we will have a greater ease to face it. Sometimes it is difficult to start exercising, especially if we set goals that are far away or that are no immediate priorities. It is so important to know that rather than exercise with high intensity and take it like a duty, we can see it as a rewarding activity in itself. That is why it's recommended to start moderately and to maintain a frequency. It can even be an activity to develop with the people we live in our house, having as a focus the physical and mental well-being. So, what are you waiting for? Go for it and stay healthy. Thanks.
Martin Becerra will give us wonderful life lesson with her idea on protecting the planet.
This story starts at a normal day in my school. That day the climate was so bad, so a lot of students preferred to stay at home to wait the storm pass. Storms was normal in my city. I live in Concepcion, a big city in the south of Chile, and all winters, big storms with a lot of rain come out, but I never expect what is going to happen that day. Me and my friends were talking in the fourth floor when we heard a big noise coming from the clouds. Then we saw a lot of people coming downstairs and the curiosity wins and we go upstairs to see what is happening. We saw through the windows and I see something that I never going to forget because it was so amazing. From a big black cloud, a big mass comes down to the floor and starts to destroy everything at her path. That 31 of May of 2019, my city suffered one of the biggest tornadoes in my country. That day my city feels one of the terrible effects of the climate change. One person dies and a lot of people get afraid of a sleeping giant that day wakes up and they will never go to sleep again. My city and my country feels really badly effects of the climate change that day, but even for the future. Chile might be one of the most heated countries in South America, and this tornado was a little of all the destroy that climate change can make. As global citizens, we don't need to wait for a tornado to make actions to change these terrible effects of climate change. As a normal person, we can make big changes, but all starts in you. And maybe one of us could change the world for the future generations. Climate change is real and is now. Don't expect the effects to stop the causes. Thanks.
Thank you very much for watching our TED event this year. Thank you Javiera, Luciano, Martin, Catalina, and Cristobal Esteban also. And remember, as global citizens, we have a huge responsibility these days. We see you again next year. Thank you. Take care.